So appreciate Scott Buchanan with Georgia College and State University and Charles Bullock from the University of Georgia being with us tonight, lending your perspective. So, Dr. Buchanan, you have been checking some reports of exit polls. What have you found?
The exit poll data is not predicting how many votes that either Trump or Harris received in Georgia, but they've looked at the demographic information. And among all age groups 30 and older, they are predicting that Donald Trump did 1 to 2 points better than he did in 2020.
Oh, okay.
It was only among 18 to 29-year-olds that Harris was outperforming Trump, when you look at it by age groups.
By age groups. Okay, so Dr. Bullock, what does that tell us?
Yeah, and well, earlier, not exit polls, but the pre-election polls often were showing that Harris was doing much worse among that very young cohort than Biden had done. Yeah. So if indeed she's doing better there, it's not going to be enough to elect her, but it is a change from what we were seeing in the polls that were being done constantly up until this point. And then also the pre-election polls often showed her doing somewhat better than Democrats had done in the past with the oldest cohort.
Oh, okay.
So the exit polls are showing some differences in what we were seeing beforehand.
You wanted to add?
No, I was just going to say that apparently the exit poll data is showing that Trump actually that was his strongest group, that is over 65.
Which is the way it has usually been, and that was one of the surprising things in these pre-election polls. Yeah, he was winning that oldest group, but not by as large amount. So, what it looks like maybe what voters have done is different from what they said they were going to do when they were talking to pollsters.
See, and that is so interesting. I was wondering about that. How much stock do you put into polls when they come out before elections?
Well, of course, what the pollsters warn you is this is just a snapshot. This is not predictive. Of course, we all look at it and say, well, it probably really tells us. So, we maybe as the consumers overinterpret it as beyond what the pollster would tell us to do with it.
Okay. That makes sense. I'm wondering if we could talk about the different groups. There's been a lot of talk about, black females, black males, white females, suburban moms, all these different groups that could potentially sway this election. I'd like to talk about the young voters because you both work on college campuses. What have you seen on your campuses? Are your students engaged in this whole process?
They are engaged. They don't talk quite as much as I might like them to talk about it in class with me, but they are engaged with it. If I pull their teeth and get them to talk, they finally will, and they are engaged. The interesting thing is that one of my classes is overwhelmingly Trump. Okay. The other is overwhelmingly Harris.
Interesting.
And if you look at the issue that drives both of those classes, Trump or Harris supporters, the economy. Number one, abortion came like third on the list. It was the economy and immigration and then abortion.
Really? Okay, that is very interesting. Economy, you wouldn't think young people would be so in tune with the economy, but apparently they are. Are you seeing something similar at the University of Georgia?
I think what young people are concerned about, particularly those that are nearing graduation, is they're going to be able to get a job commensurate with what their major has been. I mean, sure, there are lots of jobs around, but we see that all kinds of places now hiring, but those are the kind of jobs that they are preparing themselves and hoping to get. And then if they're thinking down the road a little bit further is, am I going to be able to afford to buy a house? So those are concerns, again, which, as a student, you're not going to buy a house, but you may be thinking about that. And what you're hearing is it's going to be difficult.
Right. That's great, though, that they are that in tune, though, and realize how it all connects together. Fun fact, speaking of students and professors, he used to be your student, right?
That's
At the University of Georgia. Pretty cool. What kind of student was he?
He was a very good student, right?
How much I owe you for that?
What kind of professor was he?
He went on and got a PhD.
That's true. You couldn't be too bad. What kind of professor was he?
Well, he was great. He inspired me to pursue a graduate degree. I thought I wanted to go to law school, and he taught me out of it, and here we are.
Cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars.
We won't talk about that.
Well, we certainly appreciate your perspective. You can keep an eye on those exit polls and give us that data. That would certainly be great. Thank you both.
Yeah.